Trustee Christensen,
Here.
trustee Garland,
Here.
trustee Spencer,
Here.
trustee Walter.
Here.
And an open meeting compliance check, please.
The agenda was posted at BMO Harris Bank, First American Bank, and the Paddock Lake Municipal Building on May 8th, also on our website.
Okay, thank you. Is anybody else getting a lot of feedback?
Yes.
I got it too.
I did a little bit too.
Got to be Brenner.
Yeah, I think it's Brenner too.
Could it be that you and her are too close together and there's feedback? Is that possible? Going back to my 1980 audio visual mentality. Okay. First order of business tonight is I'd like to move to approve the previous meeting minutes from the committee of the whole meeting of April 8th, 2020. Can I get a second on that, please?
Second.
Second by trustee Spencer. On the question? Madam Clerk, please call for the vote.
Brenner,
Brenner, there's a vote. You said yes.
Okay, Christensen,
Yes.
Garland,
Yes.
Spencer,
Yes.
Walter,
Yes,
Burns.
Yes. Okay, for finance and administration, everybody should have been emailed bills over 1,000. Everybody got them?
Yes.
Yes.
Any questions on any of them?
No.
I just have one, and that's who's Allen Integrative Control Systems. I know it's for the sewer plant, but what is it?
oh,
One moment, Terry.
I'll wait here.
Sorry about it. Let me turn, unmute you so you can speak.
All right, let me unmute trustee Brenner.
she's got to unmute her thing, her microphone.
That's what I'm working on, yep.
Oh,
It looks
okay.
pretty easy, but in reality, it's not.
So what was the question, President Burns?
Hi, Barb.
Allen Integrated Control Systems. That was for the sewer
For the
plant.
sewer
But what
plant.
was it? What was it?
It was for programming the one of the dissolved oxygen sensors and meters on the ditch.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I was trying to answer my own question by looking at what account you posted it to, but all I could know is it was for the sewer plant based on the account. Okay. Extension of the water system loan. Okay, our current note is it matures on Sunday, the 17th. And obviously, even though construction is coming along and completion will hopefully happen certainly within 90 days of today, it's doubtful that all the pay requests will be submitted in that time frame. So we're going to extend the loan period for 90 days in order to address that issue. I did ask Administrator Papanda about taking it out a year because that may be step 2 of this process. The problem lies with Community State Bank and the fact that the original loan that we have now came with an administrative authorization to do a 90-day extension if necessary, but a 1-year extension would require their board to meet and approve it. And because of the whole reason we're on the computer tonight versus in person, they face the same kind of situation. Again, we need to close on the 7th. We need to do something by Sunday, so we're kind of up against the wall on this. So that's why we're requesting a 90-day extension. Again, at the end of August, it would not surprise me that it gets extended a year from there. But again, this is kind of like a bridge loan. We're only paying interest on what we use, even though it's for $4.6 million. We're only paying for what we use. And then the idea is the USDA money, once that's received, that's going to pay this community state loan off. So that's the dynamics of the financing on this thing. Does anybody have any questions?
Sounds like a plan for me.
Sounds like a plan. Well, it is a plan.
It's a plan.
It is a plan. So there will be a motion for that next Wednesday. Okay. Trustee position. Let's certainly hope next Wednesday, it's the last time we have to discuss this. But I looked at the last meeting we did. I watched it on YouTube, and my own comment was, I don't know if I properly explained this to everybody, what the situation at hand is. So I'm willing to take some partial blame in making sure that all the trustees understand the situation between electing to pick one candidate versus the other. So first of all, just in the process, I entertained 2 viable candidates. I also want to remind you, in those 2 candidates, both individuals are going to receive the same compensation. Okay, everybody's at $3,000 on the trustee side. Okay, so I want everybody to understand that. So with that in mind, I brought forward my appointment for Mr. Fish purely because of his extensive past experiences in public administration and his knowledge of the inner workings of and this village operations. Okay, so based on that, Mr. Fish, in my opinion, was the clear choice, not only for the aforementioned, but because taking that into account for village efficiencies as it relates to the tax dollars. We're all being paid out of tax dollars. There is a cost. There is a thing considered a cost of an employee. And obviously, the more bang for the buck the employee can deliver, the better it is for the business. And our business is serving 3,000 people. So now, in my suggestion of appointing Mr. Fish, I'm in no way suggesting that Ms. Alberg is not a fine candidate or a fine person. I'm not dismissing anything with her at all. But you need to understand that there's other factors to take into consideration with Ms. Alberg. And that is, by appointing her with her association to the PHLA, this inadvertently creates a quorum on the village board of PHLA members. We all know that PHLA, excuse me? did you, Kathy, did you say something?
No, I didn't. I just unmuted my phone. I had a,
Okay, okay, I'm sorry. So again, strictly because of her association with the PHLA, that's the sticking point, at least in my book. Because of her association with the PHLA, this is creating a quorum on the village board of PHLA members. Now, PHLA is a private beach association, and not every one of the 3,000 people that we represent collectively as a village board can be a member, and quite frankly, that shouldn't be a consideration here. We represent the whole community, and not everybody's on PHLA or care to be on PHLA or can even be associated with PHLA because of where they live in the village. So having said this, there's two issues. There's really two issues that you absolutely have to take into consideration here. One can be addressed with additional workload on staff, and we kind of went over that. And that has to do with posting notice every time there's a PHLA meeting or event indicating that a quorum of the village board may be present at these meetings. This will require PHLA to provide full disclosure of all meeting events so as not to violate the Wisconsin open meetings laws. And this was pretty much verified in that email correspondence that myself had with Attorney Davidson. So the second one is a big stickler. And the second issue is that by appointing Ms. Alberg, you as board members, you're knowingly creating a controlling interest of the public's tax dollars in the hands of a private organization through a quorum on the board of active PHLA members. This is really a slippery slope. And it's quite a slippery slope. I just don't want us to take that slippery slope. So if you think what I've said, if you think I'm being disingenuous to you, you have the administrator and you have the attorney here. Ask them if what I just pointed out is not indeed a situation that's going to arise if the board elects to appoint Ms. Alberg to the board.
So if I get this right, us as trustees are breaking the law for not voting for Dick Fish? Is that what you're saying initially?
You're gonna have to restate
All right.
that because that didn't make.
Are,
that didn't-
are we as trustees breaking a law that I don't know of for voting for Benna over Mr. Fish?
No,
I mean, that's the way you're making it sound. You're making it sound that if we vote for Benna, her being on PHLA, it's a very slippery slope. I guess I'm not understanding, because we in the village don't work in jurisdictions. So, I mean, the village board can comprise of 7 people that live on 72nd Street out here, all neighbors. And I just don't understand the argument you're using for Mr. Fish to be on the board. I guess I just don't understand your adamancy on we are initially breaking the law, and if we don't go with the attorney's recommendation, then we are bad trustees of some sort. I guess that's where I'm confused, Larry. I'm trying
no,
to figure out what you're saying.
and Trustee Spencer, that couldn't be farther from the truth. First of all, you're not breaking a law. What you're doing is creating a situation where you're going to have 4 people on the village board, and hence a quorum of 7 members. 4 is obviously a quorum. You're going to have 4 active members of the PHLA on the village board. So what that does is staff, anytime PHLA has a meeting or an event, staff is going to have to post that that a meeting is taking place or an event is taking place, that a possibility of a quorum could exist, meaning all four of you show up for this event or this meeting. Consequently, in order for that to happen, there's going to have to be assistance with PHLA, where they're going to have to notify village staff of when these meetings are going to occur so that we can post these meetings. If we do not post the meetings, then we're in violation of a state statute, which is the open meetings law. And
Can I ask this
Attorney
question?
Davidson wants to chime in on that if I didn't make that clear enough for you.
Can I ask a question that maybe Mr. Davis can answer? Since I am not considered an active member of the PHLA, and I take my name off of the application and only leave my wife on there, or I could put my son or daughter who are both of age, then that removes 4 members of the PHLA because I'll no longer be an active member. My son can own the pier. He lives here. as well.
If you are not a member, that's correct.
So is that something I can take care of tomorrow, Scott?
Yeah, I guess we can take care of it to be like that. I mean,
Just take my name off, put my son's name on it.
But
I have a question though. I'm sorry to interrupt. I have a question. Why are we just stopping this at PHLA events, and what about other events within the community that four trustees just might happen to show up at? Do we have to start doing minutes for that? I mean, we got Oktoberfest. I've ran into 2 or 3 trustees at the grocery store, church event. What's the line? Well, I want to know what the line is for that.
Well,
If I could comment real quick.
sure.
When we know that there's a meeting that's going to occur, whether it's the Council of Governments meeting, even though we know, I think President Burns asks us the month before who's all going to attend, we still post that as a potential meeting. There's other meetings that have occurred. If we think that there's going to be 4 or more members at one of our events, like the most recently we had the e-waste collection, the bicycle parade, things of that nature. If we know that there's going to be a potential, we do post it as a notice that a meeting of a quorum of the village board could possibly assemble. I don't know if that is.
And incidentally, say for Oktoberfest, it's posted for Oktoberfest.
Okay.
Because we know about it. If something happens that's unplanned, meaning, all 4 of you seem to be at Drake's at the same time, well, the village board or the village couldn't have planned that. It's on planned events. So
Okay,
anything with PHLA, it's a planned meeting or it's a planned event. So those 2 stipulations, they would have to be posted.
So there's been postings. There was postings somewhere last September for Oktoberfest.
Yes. Yep, it was posted at the proper places we post tonight's meeting.
Okay.
We always post it at the same location, so there's no
so then,
discrepancy.
if I could get back to Trustee Spencer's question too. If
go ahead.
you are not only going to resign as a member, but the membership isn't nearly as important as it is attendance at a meeting for purposes of the open meetings law. So you can't attend a meeting either.
Trustee Spencer, I don't think has ever been to a meeting since I've been a PHLA member in 7 years.
Okay. It's just, I know it sounds like a a highly technical problem, but if you have somebody who complains, let's just say theoretically.
Trustee Spencer's been to as many meetings.
The lake.
Hey,
I
trustee,
apologize. I apologize.
trustee Garland, let Attorney Davidson
I
finish,
apologize.
please.
If there's a highly technical problem, let's just say there's an issue with the lake. The association wants the village to do whatever, do some, spraying on the lake or something like that. And if you have 4 or more trustees at that meeting, regardless of whether or not they're members of the board of directors of the association or not, and the association takes some action, and then later on, the village takes some action, you're gonna get sued. So that's the only reason for this.
Jeff, if I could ask, so what happens in an instance like that where they're all elected? If every board member currently was elected and currently part of PLHA, what happens then? We're in that same boat where we could be sued?
Well, yeah, you'd have to, I think you've got a conflict of interest at that point in time. So I think people would have to start bailing on, who do you represent?
One or the other, okay.
You represent the village or do you represent the association? And the likelihood of that is not great, but, in a smaller community, there's the possibility, so. And I should say that, maybe that's something, should this particular appointment go forward, then the members of the association should give some thought about, as they go to board meetings. And there's no question you're going to have to post these meetings. From the village standpoint, you're going to have to post meetings of the association if you have 4 board members that are on the association. But going forward, if there was, for example, an issue that came up that might have some impact on the village, then I think somebody's going to have to start thinking about, declining to vote on it because of a conflict of interest.
Oh, correct. And I think that would happen. But I guess my question basically was, what happens? Because up until, I think Mr. Fish had said, up until a little less than a year ago, he was a member of the association. So we theoretically could have right now, if Mr. Fish re-signed up as a member, we could have 2 people that we would be looking at to appoint to this position and both be members of that.
But I don't think he's a member right now.
He's not right now, but if he had decided to renew his membership, we could have. So my question, I just want to clarify what happens in an instance where we have elected officials also part of that association. What happens in the future? What are we to do in the future? Because I cannot believe that there has not been 4 members. And I've meant to contact Michelle after the last meeting to get that information, because I know at one point, Mr. Fish sat on the board, Karen Harris sat on the board. I do know they are members. Barb Brenner is a member. So I believe at some point this board had to have at least 4 members on this in another instance.
And go ahead, Jeff.
And that's entirely possible. This is the first time I've ever heard about it. So it's entirely possible this has occurred in the past. And I'm just telling you what, you just want to get yourself in a position where you could get questioned later. And it may very well have been that in the past there have been 3 or more board members who have been association members. And we didn't, at least I didn't know about it.
Well, actually, to answer trustee Christensen's first question, hypothetically, yes. If Mr. Fish was a board member and we know Ms. Alberg's a board member, then hypothetically, this situation would arisen no matter who you chose. But that's the hypothetical. I actually, on members that have been on PHLA as far back as we could find, and this is, Tim, you started in what, 93?
I started in 1991.
91. So Tim did check. We have had PHLA members on the board, of course, and we have had upwards of 3. This is the first setting where we're entertaining a 4th, and therefore that's why this whole thing is come up. It's a, some may see it as a very fine line, but unfortunately, and I don't want to appear that I have any more power than you do, because I don't. But unfortunately, I do look at things from a legal standpoint, and I do not want this board to be in a situation, as Attorney Davidson had pointed out, where there is the potential of the board, or of the village rather, and all 3,000 people that reside here, of having a potential lawsuit because of a misdirection of a conversation that may just abruptly appear from a bunch of trustees that meet. It, say it's never happened, that would be disingenuous of me to say that that hasn't happened. But it's happened where we don't have any notice of it happening. It didn't happen at a posted meeting. It didn't happen at a posted event. And that's going back to Trustee Garland's concern, is the first fact is the village has to be aware of an actual meeting or event where the potential of a quorum of the village board could exist. If we don't have notice of that, then could it still be, I guess, could you still try and prove that we were negligent? I don't know. That kind of gets out of my wheelhouse, but so anyhow, we have had upwards of 3 PHLM members at the time, but of course, 3 out of 7 is not a quorum.
I'd like to put out an input too as well. I guess my concern is that these 2 people, Dick Fish and Benna, Benna's would be an awesome candidate, but we've got a lot of development coming, and Dick's background is going to help this village immensely. He's no longer a member of the PHLA. He did sell his boat, and that's why he dropped his membership. So he and his wife are not members of the PHLA. That is for sure. But I think he's the guy that we as board members have to depend on, because he's been through this before. You know what I'm saying? Benna hasn't, and none of us, and all you guys are working, and I'm not an engineer, but that was my point on putting Dick Fish back on the board. And trust me, he will stay on for 1 year, and that will be it. And then if Benna wants to run at the next election, she's got a spot probably if no one runs against her. She's a very learned person. I agree with that. But right now, the development to me makes more sense to have somebody that's engineered that project. That's what I got to say.
If I could just make maybe a final observation, at least from my standpoint, you know, the situation doesn't change because of the quorum requirements. For example, if you have a 7-member board and you have 3 members of the association, and there's only 5 people at the meeting. And, you know, they all vote in one way or another, you still have that potential conflict of interest sort of situation. And it doesn't end with the Lake Association. You know, I mean, if you have 4 members who are members of the American Legion or members of the Disabled American Veterans or whatever the association happens to be, and there happens to be a vote that might have some impact, you know, we want to donate money to this association for this reason. That, you know, theoretically, that problem still exists. So I don't want to make it sound like it's just focused on the Lake Association, although that's probably the most likely problematic area for conflicts, only because of the size of the community and the number of members of the association.
Yeah, this, just to springboard off of Jeff's comment, this would be the same situation if we had the potential of 4 members that belong to the condo association or North Beach Association or the Kiwanis or any other thing that, any other events that, or organizations within the Village of Paddock Lake.
So
So,
I'm gonna ask one more question. I just want to make sure, because you're obviously Mr. Fish has at this point has not put in their family application for to be PHLA member, and he's not online right now to ask the question too. But I'm just going to throw this out there that even though he sold his boat and he didn't go to any meetings or any events, this is going to potentially stop the rest of his family from coming to PHLA events, which I know that they go to every year. Is he, are they okay with this? Are they okay with not being PHLA members for this year and facing the risk of being asked to remove themselves from PHLA events because they're not members just for this? I'm just throwing it out there. I know nobody can answer that question, but I'm just throwing it out there for possibilities that they may happen, because I know that his family, even though I've never seen Mr. Fish before, other than Christmas. I didn't realize that he was the gentleman that plays Santa Claus. But I know the rest of his family, and I know that they go to other PHLA events throughout the year. I just hate to have to ask them to remove themselves from a picnic or something else that we've got going on.
But Scott, can't they attend something like that without being a member?
No, you have to be a member.
I don't think that membership of the association is the issue for other family members. And I'm not sure exactly what qualifies you to be a member of the PHLA. I'm not that, you know, I haven't seen the bylaws, or at least I haven't seen them in the last 20 years probably. If other family members were members, and if they otherwise were qualified to go to events, that does not disqualify them from going or being members. The problem is him being a member, I think.
But the family members go based off of their membership as guests.
They no longer have the card, Scott. I spoke with Dick and I spoke with his wife. They no longer, and they're not going to get another boat, and they don't want another card. So.
Okay, well, I understand that, Trustee Brenner. I understand that. But what I'm saying is, as long as they're aware that there's a potential, if they show up to let's say this year's picnic and they're asked to unfortunately have to remove themselves because they're not members, because I know my wife comes to the picnic and helps out and whatnot. So just as long as they're aware that that's a possibility.
I understand.
I think my answer to that is Mike should join the PHLA.
What?
Mike should join the PHLA. Problem solved.
I guess then that's where I come from. If I put my membership, if I remove myself from the membership tomorrow morning, and I put my son on it, then that kind of falls. Carries
And I can do the same thing.
board members. So then I'll take care of that tomorrow, and I won't be a member of the PHLA. My son will be.
I think, to be honest with you, trustee Spencer, on a technicality, I think that would work. But I don't know, maybe Attorney Davidson wanna,
I don't know what the membership requirements are for the PHLA, but if you're not a member, then it seems to me that we kind of skirt the whole problem. You know, whether another family member is a member or not, is not, it's got to be the person who's the elected official could become problematic. So, and I'm not saying that it's a problem for any individual elected official. It's only a problem if we have, a quorum.
which is the point I have brought up from the get-go on this. So again, it's a slippery slope. I mean, if you want to do it on a technicality, the slippery slope is still there. You've all been in government long enough that you know perception is reality with our residents and with every taxpayer. I just don't want the board to be in this precarious situation. So,
But again, it's our job as elected officials. Because again, anybody could be elected regardless of by the constituents. They can be elected based on whatever, and they can belong to a numerous amounts of organizations. So theoretically, you could have 4, 5, 6, 7 members of one association. And as Jeff pointed out, then it is the job of the elected officials to either withdraw themselves from the vote or do something in that regard, either leave one or the other, make that decision. But you're making it sound like Bob had stated before, if we do something, if we don't agree with who you want to appoint, we're breaking some sort of law. And I just want to make that clear that we're not. It would be up to the elected officials then to make that determination for themselves. Do they want to leave that or not? Or withdraw themselves from a vote when it's in regards to that membership.
and what if they don't?
Am I correct, Jeff?
Yeah, well, yeah, first of all, you would have to, you have to give notice. Just like if you have a Christmas party and everybody's gonna show up at the, what is it, 76th Street Inn or whatever that name of that place is.
We find it.
You have to notice that, period.
Right.
And a decision, The only real issue comes into whether or not, if there's some sort of, if there's a vote coming up before the board where you've got a majority of members of any organization and there may be a conflict of interest, then people got to start, looking in the mirror and saying, do I have a conflict? It's not that you could have all 7 members of the board being a member of whatever organization, so long as everything is noticed.
Correct.
Appropriately. The real problem comes in where there may be a vote that has to be taken because that organization could either benefit or have a detriment because of what the village board decides to do.
Yeah, and just to clarify, because apparently it's still being questioned, is that this whole beach association issue came up after the initial appointment. My appointment for Mr. Fish is simply because of his experience. It had nothing to do with PHLA
Right.
until
know
it
that.
dawned on me after the meeting that this could potentially be a situation with the village. And that's what prompted a question to Attorney Davidson. You got his response. So I'm just reaffirming what I've stated for the last month. I'm not picking one over the other simply because of a PHLA issue. My appointment was based on experience he brings to the board. Nothing more other than what the reasons I stated, is his experience. So just to clarify that.
I don't know. I just think this board would be missing the boat without some experience. And like I said, what is until next year that Bennett could come in and take over? Because I don't think Dick Fish wants to stay. But he's really experienced with development, and that's what he wants to do. And that's why President Burns asked him if he would come on board. There you go. So
Well, in full disclosure, I didn't ask him. He applied. I
okay.
didn't ask him to apply. He applied by himself. I merely looked at the 3 resumes that we had and in looking at those resumes, made my appointment based on who's going to be the bigger bang for the buck at $3,000, who's bringing more experience to the board so that it's beneficial to the village. And whether one wants to realize it or not, Mr. Fish was a clear winner in my book. And that I've disclosed to you.
I still, I don't agree with putting Mr. Fish back on the board. I think sometimes as a village, as we're growing, we have to move forward. And I understand that, you know, I can bring in a seasoned employee at my company to get me through 8 months. But then when 9 months comes and he no longer runs, and I still have now a good 9 more months of training someone new, and I'm in this for the long haul, and I know that a lot of you guys have been on the board together for a long time, and you guys are all friends, and you guys know each other forever. You know, there's only a few of us that are actually can be considered new, and I don't even know if I consider myself new anymore. And
You're not new.
I
You're
think
not new.
no, I think that the direction of the board should be to benefit the board in the long run. I mean, I'm not going to buy a car for 8 months. I'm buying a car that's going to last me 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, 6 years. You know, and granted, Mr. Fish, he comes with his benefits, and I guess I'm also confused about that. I mean, that's pretty impressed a lot about his experience and his knowledge and what he can bring to the board. But I guess is he going to be sitting? Are we going to get him a desk next to Tim that he's going to be helping Tim out on a daily basis? I guess what do you envision Mr. Fish's role that we need so much expertise that our village administrator can't handle?
I'd like to chime in there in that I know last month it was discussed, one of the trustees said that I needed help. I do not need help. I can conduct my business without assistance from one or any particular trustees. I think what was implied was that with the decisions that the board needs to make in terms of development, things with our water and sewer plant, that I think it was implied that an experienced individual would better suit that position. But in no way, shape, or form do I need help in my task as an inspector the zoning administrator or the administrator. I think it is meant to be that it would be a team effort, that that experience would be brought to the board in decision making. That's my 2 cents.
And I agree that that was the intention of that. It's not, I know, trustee Spencer, you had brought that comment up last month. And no, we're not looking for a replacement for Administrator Papanda. We're merely trying to provide board members that also have the same knowledge that Mr. Papanda has, or something that Mr. Papanda may not know, that Mr. Fish in this case would know. That the key point that that Administrator Papanda brings up is, and we've stressed this, I don't know how many times, is that we collectively work as a team for our residents. And that's what Tim is implying. And that's a proper way to take it. And full disclosure, I was not aware that Dick's intention is to only run till next April. That's news to me.
Well, no, Dick pretty much said that he said he wasn't quite sure. He is having some shoulder surgery. But he wasn't quite sure, because I made sure I asked that question, because I've served on the board with Mr. Fish. He is extremely knowledgeable. I will not question that. I do agree he's got a lot of experience being on the board. My concern is, like Bob, and I believe I brought up that concern when I spoke to Mr. Fish, when he presented his application for the board, was my concern was somebody for the long haul. That's what the community needs. That's what this board needs, are people who are in it for the long haul. And he did not appear, and he never came out and said, absolutely not. He's only in it for 9 months or 8 months, whatever it is. But he did not say that he was in it for the long haul either. Now, obviously, Trustee Brunner has spoken to him, and he's only in for the 9 months or 8 months. So that's how I'm looking at it. And I don't think, because I'm not an engineer, that you're not getting a bang, or the village isn't getting their bang for their buck with me attending meetings and doing my homework, asking the questions that I think are pertinent to ask, and learning everything I can try to learn regarding the village. So I don't think, because I don't have a degree in engineering and I haven't served on this board for 20 years, makes the village not getting their bang for the buck. I kind of take offense to that. So I'm looking at the long haul. I'm looking at the future of the village board.
Well, in the bang for the buck comment, trustee Christensen, again, I started out that we had 2 viable candidates. Both candidates are going to get paid both the same sum of money. You're in charge of people at the library, so I know this clicks with you, is that there's a cost to employ, there's a cost of an employee. And the one employee that can give you more knowledge than the other is more of a benefit. And I don't see how you could disagree with that.
Well, let me start out by first saying that, one, I don't see myself as an employee, as an elected official. to anyone else on the board. I mean, I guess theoretically, you could look at me as an employee of all 33,000 residents of Village of Paddock Lake.
Yes.
So is that how we're looking at ourselves then? So right now we're hiring an employee. So then I will go back to what Mr. Spencer just said. If I'm hiring an employee, both employees, as you stated, are both viable candidates. One has more experience on the village board, but is only willing to stay for 8 months. I have another employee who's viable, who is interested in the position, is showing enthusiasm in the position. Necessarily, would I be counting out that person to answer your question? No. I would be looking at the long haul, the training that I would have to do, and somebody that would be with the village in the long run.
Well, I understand your viewpoint, but you're making the assumption that Miss Alberg is automatically going to run next year and be successful at running next year. What you don't know is because she is or is going to be new to the board, she may not be aware of the time it takes to be on the board, along with her full-time employment and any other community things that she's involved with. So you're making certain assumptions that you don't have answers to. So I'm hearing a lot of theoretical comments to basic facts. I'm just sharing facts
Okay.
with you.
Well, I
Not
can
only
share
about,
some
hang on one
facts then,
second,
too.
please.
Okay.
Not only about the two candidates, but also we seem to be doing a wonderful job of distracting from the real situation here. And that is the walking or the actual quorum aspect. And that's the thing that concerns me.
I can say.
I thought we had that
You'll be running
addressed,
next
but
year,
I
one
guess
year.
maybe I'm wrong.
Well, I don't know that everybody got the answer they want. I don't know. It seems that's my main
Well, I
thing.
can say for myself, I fully understand what Jeff is saying.
Okay,
I understand, what it means to have a conflict of interest. I've removed myself from votes in the past because it was a conflict of interest. So I'm fully aware of what that means. So unless there's something else you think I'm missing.
I don't know, Trustee Christensen. I mean, I've pretty much repeated the same facts. This is now the 5th time, so
Okay.
I don't know. I would hope that everybody's grasped the situation of the matter. And if they don't, this is certainly the time to ask questions.
Well, I don't know why it'll be an issue. As of tomorrow, I won't be a member of the PHLA. That's simple. I think that will solve your quorum issue and problem solved. I mean, it's not that big a deal for me.
Bob, how old do you have to be a member of the PHLA?
I'm sure you only have to be 18. I got a 22-year-old if they want an older one.
Like Trustee Spencer had pointed out earlier, and it's a technicality, but it's an acceptable technicality. in my book, it would bring, well, the quorum aspect would no longer exist because it's the active member. You know, so if what Trustee Spencer says is going to happen, then it's really a moot point. Then it just becomes, who do you feel is the better candidate for the board? And I say that with all sincerity. If I was so hell-bent on one person over another, I probably wouldn't have shared that with you. But we're going to have a 7-member board because our ordinances dictate we have to have a 7-member board. And we're going to follow the ordinances. We expect our residents to follow ordinances. We're not setting a very good example if we, the board, don't follow our own ordinances. So if that's what Trustee Spencer wishes to do, then it just becomes down to, it comes down to which candidate each trustee feels is more beneficial to the board at this time, because we don't know the outcome of the April 2021 election. We don't know who's going to run. There's a lot of variables in that. Furthermore, in order for this to be resolved, I'm going to tell you that next Wednesday, I am going to abstain from the vote of this question. And I can cite the ordinances that all play come into play with this, that I merely make an appointment. The board approves it. So, and we have to operate on a 7-member board. So it's going to come down to 5 trustees. And if what Mr. Spencer says is happening, then as far as I'm concerned, either candidate certainly is on equal playing field, minus the experience aspect, and you can vote whoever you feel comfortable is the most appropriate for the board. And whoever this board votes for, I will certainly work with, just like I work with all of you. So I think we made I think we resolved this. What's everybody think?
I have nothing further.
Yeah, I'm good.
Everybody good on it then?
Good.
Yep.
Okay. Then we will have a vote. Again, the original motion will be to appoint Mr. Fish. If that motion is not successful, somebody better be prepared to have a second motion so that we can get this resolved. So just a heads up. Okay. I'll turn the floor over to Trustee Spencer for Public Works.
All right, and I'll turn it over to Mark. Mark, if you want to give us an update.
Yes, thank you. So Global Contractors has been working on their punch list for the Highway 50 water main. We also updated the special assessment report for the Highway 50 water main to take into account the longer time period and lower interest rate. The well house and reservoir project is moving along nicely. We Energies has installed service, and the contractor is performing improvement startups. 68th Street's going to be closed, I think, starting tomorrow, if I remember right, for a water main tie-in for the well house project.
Right.
Whitetail Ridge, just waiting for the contractor's final pay request. We're still working with Public Service Commission on the rate case. Bear Development, their Highway 3 project, working through issues on that. We attended the Central High School private water main connection. The pre-construction meeting for that project's gonna start on Monday. And then also been working with Bear Development on the second phase of Whitetail Ridge. They're moving ahead with that. We see quite a few rooftops in the first phase already. That's my report.
Thank you, Mark. Appreciate it. All right, as we move on, next item on the list is the Wanasac invoice. Has everyone had a chance to review that? This is paid out of old funds. So next week, we have a motion to authorize village staff to pay a total amount of $14,700 for invoice number 10794 to Wanasac. Does anybody have any questions on Wanasac?
No,
I'm just wondering if is there need to be any clarification to the background of this whole thing?
President Burns, I'm asking that, obviously, if you've read the staff report, there needs to be a great deal more discussion. And that discussion, I would hope, to take place in closed session. And that closed session hearing would be once we're back into meeting in person versus being on virtual meetings like this. Nonetheless, we have to pay the invoice for the repair of the water. And we do need to have council present and a closed session meeting to discuss this. Because as you discussed, President Burns and Trustee Spencer, there's a larger ramification here and we need to sort through that. It's something that should be done statutorily. It should be done in closed session.
Okay.
So
thank
what,
you.
so what you're saying, Mr. Panda, is this situation will be tabled?
No, the invoice is to be paid.
Invoice to be
Okay.
paid and then for later discussion.
Thank you.
Any other questions on this matter? We'll move on to wonderful tires. All right, we're gonna have a motion on the table next also for purchase of new tires for skid loaders and front end backhoe. 4 tires for the skid loader, 2 tires for 2 rear tires for the amount of $2,520. Anybody have any questions on that one? No? All right. All right, this one, this chemical pump, I'm sure all of you guys saw that there was an update on this one. And the email came out earlier today. Instead of purchasing one, I spoke with Terry and actually Terry spoke with Mr. Burns and him, and then I spoke separately, but then we all came to the same conclusion that we should buy 2 pumps. Have one on the shelf because these are pretty much throwaway unit. So once they burn out and go down, they can't be fixed. So parts wise, the parts become obsolete very quickly. So we'll currently purchase 2 of them, have one on the shelf, so that way years down the line we can have one to throw in. Does that sound all right, guys?
Correct.
Yes.
All right, so we'll have a motion to purchase those 2. We'll also have a motion to pay for payment number 7 to stop construction for the Whitetail subdivision. It's going to be for a total of $142,175. Does anybody have any questions on that one? That over?
That was the Whitetail Ridge you said?
Correct.
Yeah, okay.
Point
No, it's for the water system.
It's the water system.
The water
Trustee
system for
Spencer.
Whitetail Ridge, correct?
Well, it's for the water project that
Okay.
services the Whitetail Ridge, but it
Whitetail
also
Ridge.
services Highway 50 and all points west.
Okay.
Mhm.
We also, if you guys saw the nice pictures Tim put out of the sinkhole that's over here on 61st and 240th. This is normally a project that can be taken care of in-house, but right now with where we're sitting with staffing and time requirements of actually having that intersection closed, we'd like to hire out and subcontract it out. That way it gets done a lot quicker. So I'll have a motion to approve Wanasek for $750 to replace that culvert on 240th and 61st. Any questions? All right. I went too far. All right, we got the summer discussion of the summer works project. Tim, you want to help me out with that one?
Sure. There's, based on disciplines of work that our public works do from Lake District, forestry, streets and roads, parks, public work, or village hall, facilities and so forth. These are identified items that at least as a starting point for work that'll be done throughout the summer months. We will likely add more, but this is a good start. And incidentally, our crews, we're only into the third day of them having this document. And they're already starting to make drastic strides in getting the work done that's on it. They really pride themselves in having the side on that spreadsheet, the side that is marked closed, all in red. And when you leave, oh, that's right, you're not at the village hall tonight. I was going to say, when you leave the village hall tonight, look to see that they've already done the trees here. But if you get a chance to drive by, they've already lined the trees with mulch. They're working on some culvert repairs, some emergency culvert repairs, and driveways and right of ways. So it's a good representation of what they'll be doing throughout the summer. Many of the items are carryovers from past years and will make a lot of residents waiting for ditch line repairs very happy. So that's the gist of that work project, work scope.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you, Tim. And lastly, we'll have a motion to pay K&M Welding for the fabrication of 2 buckets that are going to be used down at the sanitation plant. These buckets are pretty much needed. They're going to assist with cleaning out the sludge. To make it a lot easier for our fellows and probably save a lot of time. All right. Anybody have any questions on the new buckets for the loaders?
Nope.
And that's all I have for tonight. President Burns.
Thank you, trustee Spencer. Okay, judiciary and license, trustee Walter.
Well, I will have nothing to
anything?
report sorry. Well, I'll have nothing to report since there's been no court. So,
That's a darn
That's
good
it.
reason.
yep, nothing to report.
Okay, police and fire. Everybody got their sheriff's report. I'll go through that next Wednesday, along with hopefully a EMS report. Traffic and speed study on 61st Street. Last month, trustee Garland had asked that this be put on the agenda. So with that, I will turn the floor over to trustee Garland.
Okay, thank you, President Burns. Last month, there was a lot of chatter on social media about this meeting that's going through the village. And basically, what's on the agenda right now regarding 61st Street, for starters, I'm kind of curious, why do we not have 4-way stops at 61st Street and both 241st and 242nd Avenue? In particular, especially 242nd Avenue, because even though the eastbound traffic going on First Street does have a stop. I would almost consider that as a blind spot with that house in the southwest corner that had several things that are always in the driveway, whether it be an ice shanty, an excavator, monster trucks, ATVs, snowmobiles. It could still, in my opinion, be a blind corner where the car is at the stop, doesn't see another car coming down 142nd Avenue north, and that can be cause for something disastrous. And last year, if you recall, we had a resident over in that area, 61st Street. I'm not going to try to pronounce the name again because I don't want to botch it, but she brought her daughter who had Down syndrome, who also had concerns about the speeding on 61st Street, or the speeding that's going on over there. So for starters, I was just kind of curious, is it possible to even turn those into four-way, those two intersections into four-way stops instead of two-way?
Just point of order, let's discuss 61st Street.
Yes.
That's what's on the agenda. And then if we need to discuss other intersections throughout the village, to properly post that, we can have that as a separate discussion. But tonight, let's try and stick with the 61st Street issue, please.
Okay, sorry.
Not a problem.
Well, it's in that same area, so I mean, that's kind of what the resident that showed up last month or last year was concerned about, was that area right there where, in her estimation, seemed to be excessive going on. You know, has anything been identified? I know that she had mentioned that she would personally get per sign out of pocket. I know that that's not something we're going to even going to think about even having doing, but did make that so just wanted to bring that up again to what's going on. I know she said she tried contacting Mr. Papanda a couple of times. I don't know where that ended up going.
Trustees, Darlin, in the response to her contacting us, we have asked that the Sheriff's Department do additional patrols there. We've also asked that they now start indicating in their report any areas that we've asked them to do additional patrols, so that you as trustees can see what the additional work and observation by the Sheriff's Department. Yes, the resident has contacted me, and we immediately turn it over to the Sheriff's Department, ask observe the area and try to make ops. Some of the requests, I've brought to the board. The request was that we post signs identifying concerns with her family, and then also I believe a speed bump, which we cannot do. And she has requested additional stop signs in the neighborhood. And stop signs are only posted by law, can only be put up if it warrants it. So in other words, there has to be a traffic study done for a stop sign. We can post signs as she's asked for. If the board wants us to, we can post a 25-mile-an-hour speed limit sign, because that's what the speed limit is on that street. It's not 15. So we could post an additional sign. I don't know that would matter if anyone would even notice it, but a stop sign we have to follow a federal and state mandate and warrant putting up a stop sign. And the reason we have to do that is we risk losing aid, financial aid from the state if we arbitrarily put up a stop sign that's not supposed to be there. So we have to follow a rule and regulation. It's called the Manual of Uniform Traffic Control Devices. And there has to be the things that are needed to warrant having a stop sign added is the accidents, traffic count, speed, and potential injury from that intersection. And I hate to say this, but quite frankly, the majority of our stop signs in our village don't meet the warrant for having a stop sign. So I don't know how those streets we could ever meet that minimum standard to put additional stop signs in. I know you didn't want to talk about that, President Burns, but Trustee Garland had asked or made comments about residents contacting me, and those were the things that were conveyed back to the residents. The answers, I should say.
That's all. That's really all I have. If all I can talk about is this particular resident that came to the meeting last year, then my questions have been answered.
Okay. Any other questions from any of the other trustees pertaining to this traffic study on 61st?
No.
No.
Okay,
But I do have something not pertaining to that.
Of course you do.
I don't know if anybody else
is it, is it
I don't know if
pertaining to police and, is it pertaining to police and fire?
No, it's pertaining to the phone call itself. During that whole thing,
Oh,
I could
okay.
only hear bits and pieces of what Trustee Garland and Tim were saying. I don't know if anybody else is getting all of that feedback.
Yes.
I'm
Yes.
actually-
Yeah, I
Okay.
am.
So,
So I don't know if it's maybe the live YouTube thing too close or something, because it's almost as though I'm hearing them repeating themselves.
Right? And it's muted on my end. So,
Okay.
hey, Barb, can you turn yours down in there?
If you show me how.
That might be where it's coming from.
Okay, yeah, because it's very difficult to hear everything. For me, I don't know if anybody else is having that problem.
Let me see if I can get Trustee Brenner.
The only thing I've noticed is everybody appears to be coming through clear. I have heard distortion on Trustee Garland's side.
I did too.
I don't know enough about these things, so.
I did too.
Okay. Okay, well,
Kind
We're all on the same page with that.
I'm hearing myself.
okay. Well, with that being said, Trustee Christensen, is there anything you'd
Thank you.
like to be, is there any portion of that conversation you'd like to have emphasized?
No, I did read all of Tim's, the report that Tim sent, and so I caught the gist of most of it, yes. So I'm fine.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Health, welfare, and recycling, Trustee Christensen.
Okay, the only thing I do have is the 3 reports that Tim has sent to everybody, the annual recycling report, the results of the spring yard waste, and the results of the spring e-waste. So if there's any questions, or I had no questions, I thought they were good reports. Thank you, Tim.
Okay,
Excuse me, President Burns and Trustee Christensen. Can I just, it's so impressive that a municipality of our size and our residents do such a wonderful job of recycling. I want to rehash this in that it's in the report, but the amount that the state requires for us to qualify for a grant, a state recycling grant, is that each resident per capita, each resident recycle 82.40 pounds per year per resident per capita. That's the break even. We recycle 284. So 200 pounds, 202 pounds more than what the state sets as an average or a mean. And I think that's just amazing that our residents do that wonderful of a job of keeping that much waste out of a landfill. It's mind-boggling. And bring that up and point that out because I'd like to apply for another award through the state of Wisconsin. We got one in 2016 for the highest recycling per capita in the state. And I'd like to apply for that award again. It doesn't come with any more money, but it does come with a nice plaque that we can put on our in our foyer. So I just want to let you know that that's something I'd like to do.
Absolutely. I think that's a good thing.
Tim?
Yes, ma'am.
Have they noticed any difference, with the past month or two with the recycling? Because I think, a lot of people are getting takeout orders and I have a lot of recycling. I don't know about anybody else, but.
I did talk to Nate from John's Disposal, and he had indicated that not just in Paddock Lake, but they do Bristol, they also do Brighton, and they do Salem. They've noticed that the bulk items are up considerably. And that's likely because we're all at home, well, that the public's at home cleaning out their homes and putting it out for pickup. So they have noticed a increase in bulk pickup. Didn't comment on the recycling.
Okay.
Any other questions or concerns under health, welfare, and recycling? No? Okay. Building and grounds, trustee Brenner.
The only thing I have is the agreement between the Village of Paddock Lake and Fox Services LLC for lawn maintenance services on public property and nuisance abatement. And there will be I would say, a motion on that.
No, that was just, pardon me, trustee Brenner. That was last month.
Oh.
Yeah, there's nothing,
So it's already been done,
correct.
is what you're saying.
It's not
It was
only
in my
been done,
packet, so yeah.
it's not only been done, it's being exercised. The grass is getting cut.
It was in my bunch of paperwork for tonight, so that's all I have.
Okay, thank you. Tree Commission trustee Garland?
I do not have anything, but I wanted to ask Tim how everything went last month with the trees and the pruning that the village is going through.
They are making progress. We're working on that amongst the yard waste and e-waste, or not yard e-waste, but the spring yard waste pickup. So that left them out for a month. They have done some emergency pruning. That's on that list that I gave you under the forestry of some of the things that they're working on. Trustee Garland, you and I are going to have to discuss sometime in the near future here, going out for bids for stump grinding or doing it in-house. There's a lot of stumps that need to be ground. And you had mentioned it last month. So the last time we went out, if you'll recall, the last time we went out for bids, solicited bids, we didn't get any. We didn't get any response. Nobody wanted to grind our stumps. And I think we at minimum try it again. And if we can't get a contractor to bid on grinding the stumps, then unfortunately we'll have to do that and rent a piece of equipment. And I'd like to do it while we have our seasonal summer staff, which, by the way, will be on the agenda next week. My recommendation to hire a Lake District member and 2 seasonal public works members. So
sounds good. Thank you.
I will say that in the tree commission on 250 and 67th, when I went for my little scooter ride last weekend, God, it was the branches were piled all the way to 250th. I mean, they came clear out to the street. I was amazed at how much
That was a lot of debris.
That's a lot.
And you know, the benefit of that being there, now obviously there's some contractor that dumped one of those piles, but the benefit of our residents taking it there keeps our staff out of harm's way working on the edge of the road. It's actually a safety feature to have them bring it there. It looks horrible for the week that it takes for us to get them chipped, but it's safer. So.
Excellent.
That's all I have.
Okay, thank you. Administrators report,
President Burns, I have nothing for tonight.
attorneys report,
I have nothing.
village board inputs and concerns.
No.
I want to bring up one thing. That's 4th of July parade. I'm going to put that to Trustee Christensen to maybe next Wednesday present whether she feels it's an event that we should have or shouldn't have. I will tell you that I did get the insurance paperwork for the fireworks, and that is in order. We do have confirmation from the Water Patrol that that is in order. And once we have confirmation from Salem Fire that they will be on standby, then I have every intent of signing that fireworks permit so that we have fireworks this year.
Thank you to President Burns.
That's great. That's good.
Well, I'll tell you what. I think our residents deserve something after being confined to their home for months on end.
Absolutely.
And nothing is forcing them to go see them. And they can actually see them from the comfort of their own vehicle in most spots in the village. So I don't think we run into pandemic issues with it that can't be addressed. So yes, I have every intent of signing that permit so that we can have fireworks again this year.
Thank you very much, President Burns.
Well, you're quite welcome. And so next Wednesday, if Trustee Christensen can kind of maybe discuss it with Administrator Papanda. I know Administrator Papanda and I have discussed it, and we've kind of come to a consensus. But it's not fair to discuss these things and not have the committee chairperson involved, nor.
No, I was just gonna say that.
Well, that's why we're doing it this way. Yeah,
right.
yeah.
Thank
We have believe me, Administrator Papanda and I have conversations amongst numerous things day to day, sometimes hour after hour, right, Tim?
Yeah, that's correct.
But nonetheless, it still has to go through the committee chair, and they will make the recommendation. So yes, I'm affording you something that you're entitled to, Trustee Christensen. So no need for any thank you or anything. Okay, is there any other concerns?
Nope.
Okay, then by display of one's hands, with the exception of Trustee Christensen, who can just yell out, I'd like a motion to adjourn.
Aye.
A second by Trustee Christensen. All those in favor signify by showing their hands.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, folks. Thank you. And we'll see you Wednesday.
Bye.
Okay,
Good night.
bye.
Wait a minute, Barb.
What's that?
I say, wait a minute.